Hi, I'm Christopher Garside, the author of God's Chemistry for Life. Today we're going to look at Chapter 2, The Illusion of Space and Time. This is the second chapter of the book. This chapter and the next chapter go into a lot of meat of science that shows that we can see God in this universe, that the creation story in the Bible is not an illusion, is not a fairy tale, but we're going to look at the science to back it up. So, first of all, let's look at whose time is it anyway in the creation story? It's God's time. Since He was the only one there before the beginning of creation, it's His time. He is our ultimate reality because the chemistry and physics of this universe shows that our world is an illusion. Um, it's also set up to show the characteristics only God possesses. That is omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence. We're going to see how those three characteristics fit into his creation or are set up so that God can use all three of those in his creation. So let's look at relativity first. Relativity, Einstein's theory of relativity says time is relative depending on your perspective. Um, Relativity explains everything that happens in time and space, or space and time. It can, and you have a really simple equation, E equals mc squared, that explains everything that happens in space time. You can replace the m and the c and the e for anything, and you can get all of the laws of physics drawn out from that. It also shows a block universe, which we'll talk about later, and it has some great implications for some things that happen in the Bible. And relativity also has wormholes, which are really super cool to see on TV. But you know what? God can use them to do some really cool things too with His miracles. So let's first off look at in relativity, how do you change time? To speed up time, simple. You move slower, or you have less mass or gravity. Um, to slow down time, you move faster and have more mass or gravity. For example, if we were to travel the speed of light, we would stop time altogether. They've done some experiments with some atomic clocks, and I'll get into this in chapter 3, I think a little bit more, where they put atomic clocks on up higher elevation than one than the other, and they come out of sync. And you put one on an airplane and make it move faster, and they also come out of sync. Now, let's talk about the block universe. Einstein says in his theory of relativity that when the universe came into being, that all things that could ever be came into being at that time and are equal. If you look at the diagram below there, there's two views of time. Our view is the top one, the presentist view. We only see the present, what's going on right now. God, however, he's outside of space and time. And so he gets to see the block universe. He gets to see everything, all things all at once. It's inconceivable for us how that would happen, but theory of relativity says that this should be possible. That this is open for possibility. That well, actually, it doesn't. It's more than possibility. They say this is what happens. All things come into existence, and they all exist equally. They're all equally real. Now, this has some implications. These are some really cool implications because there's a block universe, and as soon as the Big Bang happened, everything that was ever going to exist exists. There is no randomness. There is no randomness because the block universe in relativity, there is no such thing as randomness because the universe has already knows what will happen in all circumstances. That sounds like a mind blower, doesn't it? Let's try and simplify it and look at it in a coin flip. Okay, a coin flip. So there is no randomness in a coin flip because the universe already knows what the result will be of every coin flip. It appears to be random to us, but the universe or God already knows what's going to happen. He knows when every flip is going to take place. He knows the results of that flip. So it appears random to us because we don't get to see the outcome ahead of time, but he does. So that also means there is no randomness in evolution. Because there is no randomness with the block universe, there is no randomness in evolution. God already knew how he was going to form all life. It just appears random to us um, because God is the nature in the natural selection. So from here on out, if you ever hear the word natural selection, don't think of it as natural selection. Don't think of it nature as things happening randomly. Instead of calling it natural selection, you can call it God selection because God is in control of all of nature. And we're going to see that in some of the other physics that we have here. So this shows God's omniscience. God is all knowing. The block universe shows us that God can see all things from all time. He's going to know everything, everything that's going to happen in the future, everything that has happened in the past, and everything that's going on now. He sees it all, and he sees it all now. He's looking at it all now. Now let's get into some wormholes. Um, Wormholes allow you to move in and out and through space and time. You can see some diagrams there. The top one is just moving through space, a shortcut through space. And the bottom one, the white one, shows you moving through space and time, allowing you to move through these independently. Now, time and space. Now, open up a wormhole is takes a lot of energy. However, God of this universe, the creator, he since he is possibly energy personified. He's the creator's universe. He is source of all the energy of this universe. This should be no problem for him. To be able to open up a wormhole should be no problem from here. And so this shows his omnipotence. God is all powerful because he has the power over time and space, including wormholes, which requires lots of energy to open. Nothing is too big or too small for him, and he controls all of it. Now, this is impossible for man because it requires too much energy to open up a black hole. We'll never be able to open one up. They require the energy of thousands of stars to open one up big enough for a person to pass through. Again, shows us God's omnipotence. Now, this has some pretty cool implications because wormholes can transport things in and out of space and time and through different spaces and through different times. Um, and if you wanted to, you could go between universes. We'll get into that a little bit later. This would allow most, if not all, miracles. I can't think of any miracles that were done in Scripture that both Old and New Testament to be done with wormholes. Um, Wormholes could bring anything in or out of the universe when God wanted and still not break any laws of physics. And I think that's something that's really cool. God doesn't need to break any laws of physics to get his miracles done. And even if you still were able to open up a wormhole, it's still a miracle in itself. This again shows God's omnipotence. God is all powerful. He's powerful enough that he's able to open up a wormhole, which requires a lot of energy. He's able to control that. And so he's able to control all the miracles. Now, let's talk about God's time. God is outside of time. So he sees all time at once since he is outside of it, and he's a creator of time. And again, we've seen this as the block universe and relativity. This stems from relativity and says that when the universe, and again, if you didn't remember it from before, it says that when the Big Bang happened, all things came into existence that would ever come into existence, past, present, and future, are all equally real and happening somewhere. Ah, Jesus. What implications does this have with Jesus? So, Jesus was there at the beginning as God and man. He was God and man at the same time, the God man, both fully God and fully man. But how could he be man if man did not exist? Because as soon as the Big Bang happened, so did the birth and death of Jesus Christ, and so did his ascension. As soon as he gets outside of time and space, he can go anywhere. He's able to move himself anywhere. So Jesus could time travel. Um, now that he exists as man, he can now be the God man in the Old Testament. Because he exists and has ascended into heaven before he was born, he can walk in front of Moses. He can wrestle with Jacob. He could be in the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and at the same time, that wormhole would be protecting Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as Jesus was in there with him. These are just some of the things. It could turn water to wine. It could do all kind. I can't think of anything that happened that a wormhole couldn't be used for. Okay, now so let's talk about the multiverse. If God made this universe, he can make more. Heaven and hell can be their own universe or multiple universes, each with their own laws of physics. God did say heavens plural in scripture. So I'm not leaving that out of the realm. As a matter of fact, I think this is really cool because now if we have, say, heaven above us and hell below us as two separate universes, this makes the Big Bang we see in science. And we also read about in scripture that I will talk about later on in the book. Two universes collide together to take the energy from that collision to make all the matter and energy of our universe. This could have been, again, heaven and hell colliding together to make the expansion of our universe. And we'll talk about where that is in the Bible and in the scripture at another time. But I think these concepts are really, really cool. So now let's go into quantum physics. Quantum physics explains what happens outside of space and time, but it does not work well with relativity. So, and one of the biggest concepts in quantum physics is the uncertainty principle. The uncertainty principle states that a particle's position and velocity cannot be measured due. This is due to the particle's motion being so fast that they are without time. So it's possible to be in more than one place at the same time when you are not in time. This will allow us to see God's omnipresence. Because God is outside of time, he can be everywhere at the same time, always there to hear your prayers, always there to see your highs and see your lows. He is always there for you no matter what, no matter where, no matter when. And to give us an example how this happened, let's look at the electron cloud. Again, the uncertainty principle tells us how all particles work in chemistry, and hence the title of the book. The electron spins so fast around an atom that it approaches the speed of light. When an object approaches the speed of light, time stops. Because the electron is without time, it can be everywhere in the electron cloud at the same time, making the atom appear solid when it is really empty space. So, the illusion of space-time, if you stop time, what happens to the movement of the electron? It stops. Well, what then happens to the atom? It disappears. So if you stop time, you also stop space. Since the atom is a pixel of our universe, and if the atom is an illusion, so then is the universe. The whole universe is an illusion. So what then is ultimate reality? And this happens just like in a black hole. Just like in a black hole, if you take away time, you take away space, then they are connected. They are connected together. Then when something goes into a black hole, it accelerates the speed of light, stopping time and space, and also space collapses. This is like a fan then. So the fan is moving. The fan appears to be solid disk, giving the illusion that the fan is something it is not. The electron is spinning around the atom, and it makes it look like a solid ball, when in reality is empty space. Every physicist and chemist know this is a fact, so the universe is an illusion. So what then is our ultimate reality? And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at string theory in the next video because I can see I'm running out of time. So this was again part 1 of chapter 2, the illusion of space and time. See you for the string theory part